A grown man is taking advantage of and ruining my disabled son's life because he is desperate for friends, and it's leaving my heart in pieces. How can I ruin his and return the favor? Hello and thank you in advance for your creativity and time. I'm living in hell right now and need ideas. My son just turned 18 and is disabled. He needs and takes multiple medications and needs support at school. He does well in some settings and is on track to graduate and pursue trade school, with support, and we're so proud of him. He is extremely impressionable, a little socially awkward, and desperate for friends. For years we've struggled because he gives his possessions away, gets in bad situations, someone offering to sell him rocks at a park, him thinking they are collectible polished gemstones, so he asks to see them, and then freaks out when he realizes they're drugs, and is easily bullied. He will do anything to be liked. Which breaks my heart. And we're working on it in therapy, with trusted adults, etc. The grown man. This guy is 28 years old. Let's call him Quentin. He's frequently homeless, often sleeping in a tent in parks. Or, he'll get a voucher from our city to stay in a motel. He has 2 pit bulls, not spayed or neutered, that he will leave in the tent or motel room when he works at a fast food job. I actually have compassion for him and his animals, if he had nothing to do with my son. It started with him asking my son to watch his dogs in the park while he worked. My son is so thrilled to have a friend, and be helping, and he does love animals. So he will spend 8+ hours a day or night, alone in a park, watching these dogs. He would ask can he take dog food, toys, and blankets from our house for Quentin's dogs. He does it whether we say yes or no. Months ago, we would say yes because I appreciate that my son wants to help these dogs. Starting a few months ago, when my son turned 18, Quentin told him he didn't have to stay with us, and could stay with him. For weeks, our son was sleeping in the tent with the dogs or rough in the park. Quentin gives him beer and weed. Our son will watch the dogs for entire shifts while he works. Quentin tells him he will help him get a tent and vouchers, too. The police are sympathetic especially because my son has disabilities and also some medical issues. But he is 18. School is supportive but he's almost to graduation and again, he's 18. We had not ever pursued medical conservatorship or anything like that because before now lots of things were going right and we don't take that lightly, removing civil liberties from another young adult. In the past week, Quentin got another room at the motel. He messaged my son to come stay with him, and he did. My son sat in the room and watched his dogs while he worked and I imagine they smoked and hung out when Quentin was not working. My son would respond to text messages from us but asserted he is an adult and can go where he wants. He missed a week of medication, school, part of his part-time job, and another important appointment. Being Quentin's friend is more important than all of these things and he feels good helping his friend and says Quentin is like a brother to me, he's the best brother I've ever had. Quentin's own family have kicked him out. They are nearby. No idea who watches the dogs when my son is not available. Quentin doesn't drive and earlier this week my son gave Quentin his bike because he needs it more than me. Our son came home yesterday and had a complete psychiatric crisis because he's been unmedicated, and probably also high/drinking, for so many days. His medical issues are exacerbated. He was banging his head on the concrete floor and when we called emergency services, he spit at the police so they put a spit hood on him and restrained him. It was horrific and he was begging for help. We're not sure when he will be stable enough to come home and may need a medical procedure. He was coherent today, crying, apologizing, but still 100% certain Quentin is his friend. I also feel terrible because I know that at age 18 it's a good thing for my son to be not telling us everything, having his own friends in life, etc. I look forward to that day. He does have other friends who are closer to his age and their hanging out is more appropriate. But these other kids have busier lives and more responsibilities. They aren't available 24/7. Quentin is. And my son feels so good when his phone pings and it's his friend needing him. How can I make this man's life miserable? Or at least, make it too uncomfortable or risky to keep hanging out with my son? Nothing to harm or stress the dogs, please. It's not their fault and my son would never forgive me. Update. A few months ago I came here asking for tips to help get a man named Quentin out of my son's life. I'm super grateful for all of the ideas, and many kind words. As of today, and for the last 3 months, my son is happy and healthy. We found a transitional living house for him with 5 other young men and 2 house managers, and a dog. He's learning to adult, learning to cook, clean, and get a job. It includes therapy, gym every day, yoga, skateboarding. Truly a dream come true. The house is about 40 minutes away from where Quentin lives and my son feels he has friends, is purposeful and feels adult, and is learning and busy. They will also do job training. Before this happened, I took as much of your advice as was possible. I contacted the manager at Quentin's workplace and the motel he occasionally stays at. I told them Quentin was allowing a disabled teenager to stay with him and giving him, and other teens, alcohol. Manager is local small business owner and took my information seriously. I also went to motel and pointed out the sign that said all guests must have ID, my son does not. I told manager I hoped he was abiding by rules or I'd contact corporate. I also started calling non-emergency PD line when he was camped after park closing time, and leaving his dogs during the day. PD would move him along. Someone had the great advice of being his best friend and showing up all the time. So I did. Quentin wants to see my son. Hey, here I am, too. I'm at the park, I'm at your work, I'm near the motel. I even prepared flyers to let others in the park neighborhood, with a playground for small children, know about the tent, camping, and unsupervised, unneutered pit bulls. Quentin got increasingly upset. He said I was stalking him and he was going to call the police. I said, politely, please do. I'd love to tell the police more about what you're doing with my son and other vulnerable young people. I told him, you want to be in my son's life, I'm in your life. Up to you. I really felt bold after all of your advice and encouragement. I was willing to keep going for the long haul. In the meantime, we found a lawyer and I started tapping into resources to find my son some kind of job training, because he really wants to help and feel grown up. For a few weeks he was working at a drugstore through a program through a local agency. That was huge for him, stocking and cleaning and helping people. It also kept him busy for about a month and kind of removed Quentin slightly. Quentin either got sick of seeing me, or afraid of losing his job. The location of the motel he had been staying at occasionally stopped letting him, so he had to start using another location much farther away. Farther to walk to work and harder to deal with. I think he realized my son wasn't worth the trouble I was causing, and just stopped contacting him. Thank you so much for all of your ideas. I was so focused on trying to fix it from my son's end as his mom I had no idea how to actually deal with Q. You all were fantastic. Huge thanks from the mom of a happy, healthy, busy and purposeful young adult son.